It wasn't a physical earthquake, but a seismic shift in Nigerian politics did take place on Wednesday. It could mean trouble for Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan's governing party. 5 regional governors in the Western African country have switched parties. Joining us now to talk about this is Gbubemi Okotieuro. Thank you so much for joining us. He's the Associate Dean of Governmental Affairs at Medgar Evers College. So let's get right to the issue. Is this trouble for the President of Nigeria?
It could be. It could be if it's not handled properly by the ruling party, the PDP. There are some who believe that this is a monumental shift in the landscape of Nigerian politics. And again, there are others who believe as well that this is nothing really new. After all, we know most nations have issues of this sort from time to time where individuals and others move from parties to party. New York being one of such, with the mayor who was once, came as a Republican, then independent, and vice versa. I think, however, if the president and the PDP leadership really is able to manage this process, they might just be okay.
Now, you and I talked about this earlier, and you suggested that maybe the shift is not a philosophical one, but maybe one that sets up a scenario of sabotage, where these politicians are really stalking horses for the governing party.
Yes, I did, because there was a moment in time, it's actually true, factually true in Nigerian history anyway, in the last, say 15, 14, 13 years. It wasn't really out of the ordinary to find Nigerian, leadership, if you will, move from place to place, only for them to return back to the mothership, if you will. It's really quite common, I would dare say. I think in the early 2000s, there was a situation whereby some members left the PDP for other parties, and guess what happened? Some years later, they all came back to the PDP. So I'm not so sure what's really going on here. If that's the same scenario, it could be. Yeah.
Let's talk about the troubles that President Jonathan has had. He's been dealing with what was once a regional conflict with the Boko Haram. And now, because of recent events, they are now declared an international terrorist agency, and he does not have to fight that battle alone. But the damage has been done. Then there is the ongoing issue of government corruption, along with the poverty that is also stigmatized with that country. So these are a lot to overcome.
Yes, it is. I mean, the Boko Haram issue, on the one hand, like you said earlier, used to be quite regional, if you will. I mean, in the Nigerian context, it was really contained, if you will, within a particular area in the country. But of course, now that it's become more international, yes, you're right, the president doesn't have to do too much to help to curtail it. However, I believe the Nigerian people want to see their president take leadership on this seriously. And the issue of poverty is real, and there's, of course, concern that Boko Haram, some would argue, is as a direct result of the issue of poverty in the country, and you really can't separate one from the other. And there's a belief in Nigeria that maybe the president and his leadership team really are not really paying enough attention to the issue of poverty in the country. And of course, poverty breeds corruption, whether you like it or not. So that becomes an issue as well that the president needs to tackle head on. I've not seen so far, I mean, talk about we're doing this, we're doing that in the country is one thing, but again, we need to see concrete steps that will make us feel very confident that the government is indeed in charge of what's going on in the country. Right now, I'm not so sure that's what's going on.
Nigeria is if it is not at this moment it will be the leading producer of oil on the continent of Africa. And the people have been seeing this oil go out for decades. When do they get to see, the question has to be, when do they get to see some of the spoils of what's under their soil?
In Nigeria, they'll call it the dividend of democracy, as they say in Nigeria, to be the term that is used quite often. It's a very troubling situation that we've had in 53 years of existence as a corporate body known as Nigeria, that the collective patrimony, if you will, of the people seems to always elude the people. I think Nigerians really have to take a second look at the structure that we currently have. I'm not so sure that it's working very well for us. That's just my own point of view. Unless we're willing to do that and really talk about it seriously, this may just continue.
Now, this will affect his 2015 election, but does it also limit his ability to govern through 2014?
It's likely, because if you're talking about 5 governors now defecting from his party to the opposition party, I think that leaves him with maybe 30, 31, I believe, states that is controlling, and 33 to the other side or so. That really creates a problem for him. Yeah, no, sorry, 16 to 17, I believe it is. I'm sorry. That really creates a problem for him. Then how do you indeed get your programs really implemented in a situation whereby you have almost a divided government? You know, with 17 members being in the opposition versus your 16 members. Now, we'll see how that plays out, you know, in 2014, 2015. It will have a direct effect, I think, if the coalition remains intact.
Okay.
And I'm not so sure about, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, for the very short times, 30 seconds that we've got here, do you see him coming through this and becoming reelected? He was a very popular guy.
He was. When he came in, goodwill all the way through. I'm not so sure right now how he's going to board when this is all said and done. But we want to be optimistic that he's going to come out of this and the nation will be able to move forward to the next level. That's what I want to hope for.
Gbubemi Okotieuro, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Gary.
All right.